stage.
At this stage, we'd really love to hear from you in the audience. We have microphones that are going to be patrolling and prowling around. So if you did want to ask a question, please hold up your hand and introduce yourself, and I will call upon you because we want to make sure that we can hear you loudly and clearly. I'll start the ball rolling if you don't mind. The tears of joy and the tears of desperation in organising an event. It was very clear from all of what you spoke about today, and interesting the difficulties with the weather and outdoor. But let's think about the budget first of all. Nicola, as the years have progressed, have you seen a change in the makeup of that income that you're getting in? Sponsorship or what you're getting from the food stalls or whatever it is, the makeup of that budget?
I would certainly say this year we're light on sponsorship. As I said, I think it's tough out there. I think a lot of marketing managers haven't got the budgets that they've had the last couple of years. So we are trying to make that up in the sort of the trader revenue. But I think this year will be different to how it's been. I think in the main, prior to that, I think it's, we get about between 150 and 200,000 in sort of what we call that sales revenue, of which probably historically 60 to 70% of that has been sponsors, has been sponsorship revenue. But as I say, I think the sponsorship revenue will be probably less than 50% of it this year.
So all the more reason to have a realistic budget rather than
an
aspirational budget.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Ursula, you mentioned ticketing earlier. Ticketing, when do you set the price? And when do you offer free tickets? Because I know that can be a positive and a negative aspect.
We set the price as early as possible, and actually, what I forgot to mention was the price for Garden Ireland we froze at the £10. It's been at the £10 level for a number of years. £8 concession, under 16 is free. So we stuck with that model up until last year. This year we've inched it up to £12.50. We always go on sale in the autumn because we want to push the Christmas promotional offer. It's not massive, but it starts people thinking about, and people do buy tickets as gifts. But the other thing we have done in council, and we've had a funny experience with, is ticketing our free events. So we ask people to book in advance for them because we have capacity limits, but we don't charge for them. The worst experience we had of that was in 2016. Our elected members in their wisdom asked us to screen outdoors the Northern Ireland Euro football matches, and just our luck that Northern Ireland made it through to the quarterfinals that year. So there wasn't just 3 games in 2 venues simultaneously, there was 4 games in 2 venues simultaneously at huge cost. Capacity limits meant we had to put tickets for booking, advanced booking, no charge, just book your tickets and then we can manage our safety and have no men with broken arms and no catastrophes. Tickets flew out the door. The system crashed. There was such demand for the tickets. But when we got to the event itself, 1/5 of those that had booked turned up. And what a waste. The wasted opportunity for all the people who genuinely would have come along to see the games, never mind the huge investment and cost that we weren't going to get a ticketing income from. But as I said, we do things for other reasons in council. We have that luxury. And then as a result of COVID, we were starting to recover some of our large-scale events. Again, the COVID restrictions, that slowly, the passports, the capacity limits, et cetera, forced us into a scenario where we had to introduce booking for our large-scale events. But having had that experience in 2016, we thought we've got to charge. They're free events, yes. Politicians don't want us to charge, but we can't take the risk the same thing will happen. And we introduced a £1.25 per head. Weird figure, I hear you say, but it was £5 for 4. And that discipline of people having to book and pay that small fee for a free event has reaped huge rewards for us. We know people do book. We know we have certainty around the numbers. We have an event, a fireworks display event, which we have to cap at 8,000. So whilst it's a free event, we now can manage those numbers. And we're actually adding £1 to that booking fee in the coming financial year, because the money at the minute all goes to the mayor's charities. And it generates about £50,000 into the mayor's charity pot. which previously a mayor's charity fund would have got to £10,000 in a year in office, and now from our free event booking fee, they get a great income stream. So we're being greedy and adding £1 onto it, so we get a little bit of income as well.
Adrian, you talked about changes that you have made down through the years and being courageous enough to make those changes from the Dalriada Festival and also the name. What pressure was on you, do you think, to make your events inclusive for all communities and for all of Northern Ireland and beyond to come to Glenarm?
Well, you should never be afraid of making a change if you're on an event, because your event will get stale at some point. People will get fed up going to it. We originally, in the early days at Highland Games, and we sort of felt that was sort of limiting our reach out to, the wider communities. We felt the Highland Games had run its course, so didn't need much encouragement amongst ourselves to do something different. At the same time, nobody was going to buy a ticket to come and watch a Highland game show. They were all going to get up in the morning and look out and see what the sun was doing first. So it was an easy change for us. Once we moved over into the music aspect, we had to learn quickly and learn hard the pitfalls and the perils, and that industry is a very tricky industry to get involved in, because if you're doing something that may annoy somebody else, they could shut you down, by not giving you access to artists just like that. So you have to negotiate your way through all those types of things. But you learn as you go. It was never a mistake. It's never a mistake for any event to refresh or rethink, or, because I think your visitor will appreciate that.
So it's embracing the challenge rather than having any, we don't use the failure word here at all. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could put up your hand, anyone who has a question. This is really about sharing, learning from those who are leading the way in the field of events. And whether yours is a small or a large event, there's something probably on your mind that has been sparked by the speakers this morning. So anybody got any questions? And we'll get a microphone to you. If you could put your hand up to let me see you. Oh, there you go, down at the back. If you could just stand up, please, just introduce yourself for the speakers and myself, I'd appreciate it, and then ask your question.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me all right there? Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Very much, just to the panel members. That was really insightful and very honest, I have to say. And
who are you and who do you represent?
Tracy McCallan. I'm from Alanoma District Council, so I'm development manager. So that includes our events in terms of delivery and supporting event organisers through sponsorship. So I was saying thank you very much. That was really honest appraisal of your events. And Adrian, I think people would buy tickets just to hear you speak. I think it tells some of your stories, so well done on that. I just kind of want to better understand, and probably more for Ursula, given that we're kind of all local council in terms of ourselves, just around how you value your sponsorship model for the value of sponsorship coming in, so that I suppose you're maybe not overinflating the expectations of sponsors, but you're not underselling your event as well. So my question was really around the value of sponsorship.
I suppose that's quite a difficult question, and as I alluded to, a very painful lesson in the early days of us dabbling with sponsorship. I think we're still very amateurish in council in terms of the whole sponsor relationship. I mentioned the fact that when we inherited Garden Show or purchased Garden Show from the private operator, she had a huge income stream that came in from sponsorship, and that's completely dried up with the exception of getting something back from the junction. So we don't actually have a particular model at this moment in time. And really, we've had to make a couple of decisions recently where we were offered small pots of money in terms of sponsorship for a huge Enchanted Winter Garden event. And we actually turned them down for the reason that the percentage of that amount of money towards the spend, which is nearly at $1 million for that event, versus the effort, not necessarily expense, but the time and the money of servicing that, of meeting kind of their asks, we thought it's not worth the effort. It's not worth it. So to date, it's been on a case-by-case basis. But as I talked about, we're going to reach out and try and actually really take sponsorship seriously. The last 2 years, like the rest of you, it's all been about recovery. As I say, my team took on a huge portfolio of events in 2021, going from just a certain amount of arts and culture event delivery to responsibility for the council's entire portfolio of events, from every community envelope opening right through to Christmas light switch-ons, etc., etc. So we've been running to get that done and to get in a good place, and we now really want to go after the money, in terms of, we feel we're an attractive offering to the right sponsor. And I was interested in your differentiation between the different types of sponsor. So I think we're going to look at something like that. We gave away naming rights in the past to an event for woefully inadequate sum, and then spent most of the money looking after the sponsor. Never again. So I can't give you a better answer than that, I'm afraid. It's very much a work in progress.
Nicola, how's your approach to sponsorship changed?
It hasn't changed, no. I think it's something, but I think, and I can see, from a council perspective, what you're saying, it's more difficult. I mean, it is our lifeblood, and I think, as you also said, it's also a really important part of the content. If you took, back in 2021, when Land Rover were our sponsor, they brought fantastic content to the event. They built this huge kind of driving experience. So not only is it important revenue, but it's really important content in the event itself, and what different people do. And I think it's something that I think we're good at. I mean, I started off life as a brand manager, in marketing, so I kind of get the brand side of things. But I think one really critical element in brands is, yes, you kind of go and sell, your event and what it can do for people, but once somebody's signed up, I think the really important, that first meeting, once they've said yes, the really important first meeting is to ask them why they said yes. Mm-hmm. Because in your myriad of benefits that you've tried to sell to them, you might not necessarily, it may have come out in your conversations, but it may not. And to be really clear, and there are so many different things that people can get out of it. So if you take Land Rover, for example, they weren't really that interested. I mean, we put their, it wasn't naming rights, but their logo sat within our logo. They kind of traveled with us on the journey, but that wasn't really what they were buying into. They really wanted numbers of people in their driving experience. So it was all about the on-site experience for them. There are other companies, that actually is more about the promotion in advance. Some companies, it's about what you can do for them internally. Some big organizations have, to be able to go to them and give them, give their staff or their partners, ticket offers that they can come to the event and entertain people at events. I've done events, not necessarily Keswick Man's Festival, where the VIP aspect is the thing that they're really buying into. And I think it stops you wasting, I'm not mean wasting, but spending huge amounts of money on delivering things that actually might not be of that much value to the sponsor. And I think missing that very first meeting, that is, why have you said yes to this? What are your objectives? What does success look like to you? And how are we and they going to measure that? So that, A, you're really clear and focusing on the things that are important to them, but also at the end of it, you put in the measures in place so that they can look good in their organization about they've made a really good decision to sponsor this event and it's delivered these benefits, and therefore they're more likely to come back. So it ties into all of that being really clear what success looks like for them and what is it that they've bought into is just, it's just, and being really honest about that with them, because you'll end up being some things that you don't do, or you end up delivering different things, different sponsors. Somebody might be all about the PR coverage and the advanced promotion. Other people, it's all about the on-site. Other people, it's about, the detailed engagement and storytelling with individual visitors. So always have that stage.
Anybody else from the floor? You can put up your hand if you have a question. Yes. If you could just stand up there and introduce yourself and tell us where you're from, that'd be great. Thank you.
I'm Hannah McCloy. I'm the Visitor Operations and Experience Manager at the Eastdown Portfolio in Northern Ireland. So looking after Mount Stewart as our main pay for entry property. And just thank you very much for all of your insights. It's great to hear that it's not just us that face challenges when running events on greenfield sites with mud and access and all of the above. But I suppose from a commercial perspective, it's round about your trading side of things. When you're attracting traders to your events that align with the event that you're actually delivering, how do you suppose, advertise those opportunities and attract the traders that actually align with your events? And how do you decide on the pitch fee versus visitor experience? Because I know that that is a massive draw to people. So it's
Do you
basically...
want to take that, Adrian, given what's happening in Glenarm? Getting that balance right.
Yeah, well, as a challenge, as you've highlighted, because 90% of the phone calls you get and the emails you get are going to be from traders that you probably don't want in your event. So we asked for photographs, photographic evidence of what they're trading, where they've traded before, and then we just have a process of going through those and waiting them out. Much to their, they don't like that when you don't let them in. We try and appeal then to food, for example. In the 1990s, when I'd done that big event, I had chip vans everywhere. In more recent times, in the 2000s, we wanted to move away from chips and burgers to more healthy food. So in about 2008 or 2009, we had one chip van, and we had this amazing offering of artisan food. We brought people over from Scotland, we brought people from France. We had this fantastic offering of artisan foods. And the chip van man was queued for like 3 days.
Absolutely.
Nobody went to the artisan foods at all. And all these guys had made such an effort to come there, and we were absolutely galled. But I think we were just too early for that, even back then. It has changed now. So we try and reach out to traders. We go hunting, looking for traders. We go and reach out to traders that we want to come to our event. We'll actually approach them and try and do a deal with them to get there. You might not get the money for the pitch you want, but it's more important to have that particular type of trader that's going to bring a benefit to whenever your visitor comes, see that something that wee bit different.
In general, is it best to have a flat rate for those traders and those craft traders or food traders, or make some sort of commission out of what is sold? What's the best option?
Well, we've tried all that, but the problem is, they're dealing with cash. Well, maybe not so much now with cards and stuff, but it's really hard to get a handle on what their turnover is. Traders are great. They say, stood here all day, never sold a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, every time you get past, there's a queue standing. Hey, all the traders that I've ever saw going through Glenarm, and I've saw hundreds of traders go through Glenarm, thousands probably. The one smartest trader I ever saw was a guy who turned up in an orange, a big orange, and he opened up the lid of the orange, and he got inside the orange, and he had these amazing freshly squeezed oranges, and it was like £2 a glass of freshly squeezed orange juice. That guy lifted thousands and thousands of pounds, and after he left, there was this big pile of rubbish lying with a black polythene cover over it, and we went down there and looked down to see why he left all his rubbish. There had to be about 20,000 Tesco's finest squeezed, watered down orange juice in there. So you have to be very careful,
Unbelievable.
Anybody else from the floor, ladies and gentlemen? If not, anyone else there? Anne? No, Dan. Okay, so we're running a little bit over, but we'll take a 10-minute break. So it's 18 minutes past. We'll definitely start in 10 minutes' time, if you wouldn't mind. Thank you very much. And remember, our speakers are around all this morning if you want to approach them individually. Thank you. That was really good. Very good. Thank you.